Hello guys, I want to show you a game that was played a couple of months ago in Lichess Quarantine League. It was played in the 4B League, and this game is interesting because this is the first time I actually beat a Grandmaster, and I've played many of them in my chess career, but this was the first time I could actually beat the Grandmaster. So without further details, let's jump to it. So the game was played like 3 months ago, and I was playing black, and this Grandmaster is around 2500 FIDE and also 2500 on Lichess. This was a blitz game. You can see the times for each players, and with before I start to making the moves that were played, I quickly want to tell you that most of the times when my opponent plays e4 and my opponent is stronger than me, I know that I'm gonna just lose if I play like normal, like playing Italian or Spanish games like the Rui Lopez. So most of the times I'm going for tricky lines. Maybe I can catch them off guard in the Russian game. I really like to go for this tricky line that I usually do when I know I'm already lost at the beginning, but you know when I'm trying to do things, this is the Stafford Gambit, and I pretty much enjoy playing it because it decided quickly. I either win in 10 or 15 moves, or I lose in 10 15 moves. So that's it. And when my opponent plays anything besides e4, like d4 or some like crazy knight moves, I'm most often playing in a defensive style, like g6, like knight f6, bishop out, and on the position that will occur if my opponent plays e4. Most of the time I play d6, so that's just the modern or King Indian defense. So without further details, my opponent played g3. This is the Hungarian opening, and I was like, okay, this is not e4, so I'm not gonna go for e5, or I don't really play c5, only occasionally. So I went for my setup and everything was fine. He played e4 and I played d6. This is really important because if I don't play d6 in these type of openings, let's just imagine my opening played from the beginning, and I just play the knight out. That's already pretty bad because my opponent pushes e5 and I'm borderline lost because I have to go back. Okay, I can try to go here, which is like seemingly nice, and I can go even to h5, and yeah, that makes sense, but also it's like restricts the bishop, and it would be way worse if my opponent would play c4 and I play the bishop out, and then he plays e4, and then I play the knight out. Because yeah, that's seemingly, if I play here, I have to go back again. I cannot go to the border of the game, to the edge of the board, because of g4, and my knight is trapped. So anytime when my opponent plays e4, I have to go d5, and that's pretty much it. And now if he goes for the same thing, like after this move, I don't know, maybe like, okay, not this, but for example, this move, and this, it's just pretty bad, because if I eat it, he eats with the pawn, I eat the queen, and that's game over, because the king is in the center. I traded queens, and he's not developed, so that's pretty much it. And if he tries to go for the pawn with the knight, he achieved nothing. He literally did nothing, and I castle to safety, and I have nothing to worry about. So I can just go like normal and have a pretty neat advantage, because anytime I can just play c5, and be happy. And again, if he like tries to like close the center, it's no problem. I'm gonna play e6, and that's pretty much it. He can no longer push the pawn because then he cannot guard it, and that's just it. I'm gonna win a pawn, or I'm just gonna have a better position. So that's pretty much out of the opportunities, I mean options for white. So I just played d6, and I'm happy. Yes, these types of positions are much better for white, but in a practical game it's still a game, and white has to like beat me, and it's not easy. So let's go back to the game. We went for this setup, and he played e4, I played d6, and now he's pretty much can never play e5. Probably his best plan still to go d4 and get the central control, but he is like doing the same as I do in these types of positions, just castle to safety and hope for the best. Okay, I want to mention that in the game I played knight to d7, which is mostly the thing that I'm going for in these types of positions. I don't really like to put my bishop out, because that's just gonna waste a tempi, because he can attack it, and I never want to eat the knight, because then I cannot challenge his light square bishop, and that's light square bishop is gonna be a monster if the position opens up. So also I cannot like just go back and remain pinning the knight, because he can trap my bishop, and I'm again just losing the game. So my only option is to like play here, because if I play e6 I'm just blocking everything, and all my movement, that's just bad. And if I play here I restrict my knight to go c6, and that's also bad, because I would just block my bishop also, and that bishop is gonna be a pawn. So this bishop has to go to the b7 or to the e6 square, and like target the white king later on. So most probably I'm gonna play this, and this, and challenging the bishop, or to even a6 and attacking the rook and pinning the d3 pawn. So that's why it seems stupid, but it's actually one of the strongest moves in the position, to like block your bishop, but this is only a temporary blocking. So white is making an interesting move, a4. This is nowadays standard in grandmaster games. You want to get space. Maybe you can play like your pawn and stopping my idea. So that's like kind of things that it's useful, but it's also wasting a move to develop your pieces. So most of the time I'm playing c5 in these types of position, but I felt like that now he's still undeveloped, so I can transpose the position to like an e4 e5 position, but with the same idea. So we are pretty much now symmetrical, and this is called the symmetrical variation. And in these types of positions we have time to remaneuver our pieces to the best places. Sometimes even like these ideas are pretty common, like h5 h4 to close the position, and it's pretty much safe. Even king h7 is pretty coming into mind, and also rook b8 b6, and developing the bishop to face the monster light square bishop from the white castle. So I played e5. He's doing pretty much the same, and I could like go for total symmetry with a5, but as you know, I'm playing rook a8, and now we are shuffling a little. These knights seemingly are strong, but they are actually doing absolutely nothing. They are hitting like air and pawns that are also protected by pawns, so they are pretty much useless at this point. So he played b3, I played b6, and yeah, this is kind of scary, but he cannot really open up the position right away with a move like this, because you know, I can just eat it. And now if he tries to like, oh, okay, I'm going full ham, I'm just gonna eat it. And now if he tries to like, I don't know, maybe he can try to eat this pawn, and saying that, okay, what happens now? I can just, you know, fly in with either knight, it doesn't really matter, and block out this thing and just enjoy my material advantage. I'm a pawn up. So that's out of the question. So he played the bishop here, and I was like, hey, he's not gonna eat my knight, because if he eats my knight, now he is struggling with the same fact that he cannot really challenge my dark square bishop, and if the position opens up, this bishop is going to be a monster. And also my pawns are pretty much all on dark square, and with the light square bishop he cannot really do anything to the dark square pawns. So I was pretty doubting that this bishop move is something that that is going to eat my knight here. He didn't put this bishop here because he wanted to eat the knight, because he wanted to develop it to somewhere. So I just followed my plan, you know. He didn't really eat my knight, and after a couple of moves here, here he jumped in with the first horsey, and now he jumped in with the second horsey. And this is the first time we capture a piece or a pawn, and it's gonna be his knight. And it's already move 18 or even 19 after this capture, so it was pretty much a maneuvering game. And I'm pretty sure that this double pawn is not really good for white, because he cannot really defend this pawn unless he moves the knight and brings the other pawn in. And I felt like I'm doing pretty okay. And if you ask the engine, it says that it's actually alright for black, and he's a little better. But I have to move the knight, and there's only one move that maintain this lead, and I did not play that. I was like, okay, if I can move my knight to 2 squares, which are like logical and not straight up stupid like this move, because he can like attack it and I have no squares, I have to go back, that's stupid. And also going back is absolutely stupid because I have no other ways to activate the knight. So I was like, getting into the center, it's probably better, because from here I'm doing absolutely nothing, I'm hitting nothing, just air and protected pawns. And from here I'm actually doing something, like attacking this, like controlling this square, and I have a retreat plan if he tries to attack it and weaken his pawn structure. And that's exactly what happened in the position. And after a couple of moves he retreated the bishop, and probably I should consider doing the same with my bishop, not right away because that would just cut off the rook, but later on, because this bishop is okay, it's now attacking this pawn, but surely he will play c4, and this bishop will not see a great time for a long time. So I played rook, and I was like calculating what happens if I play c6, and I wanted to really make a breakthrough, but it's straight away not good because the knight can like in this pawn, so I have to prepare it and you know, do stuff. So maybe even b5, but you know, he played the bishop in, so I was pretty much forced to play f6. And after a couple of moves I played the rook back, and we were shuffling, and in this position I had a trap. I played queen f7 with the idea of, if he takes it, I take it, and if he takes it, my queen protects this pawn, and I can even eat it with the queen, but my intent to like threaten mate, but my intention was to eat the pawn. And I was seeing that this is nothing, because I'm covering it. This is nothing because I'm covering it, and everything is pretty fine, and this battery is strong, and I can bring back the bishop, and my snipers are gonna be much stronger than the knight. So I was like, this is the type of position that I want to play, because he cannot really move the knight, because the pawn will hangs, and then the pawn will hangs, and that's pretty much game over. So of course he's a grandmaster, he's not falling for tricks like this. He moved the knight, and I was like, no trade, because then his bishops are too strong. I'm just moving back and try to defend. And yeah, he tried to attack me, but this means that the h file is opening up, so I just have to shift the rooks to the h file. I can't really afford to go with the queen, because then he moves the king and comes with the rooks, and my queen is borderline trapped, so that would be devastating. So I had to figure out the plan. I can't really move my knight, so I was like, okay, I need to move the bishop, but oh, moving the bishop here is pretty good. So I had this in mind, and I went for it, and then moving the king and like trading the rooks. He played c4 to like strengthen the pawn chain, and everything up until this point is like pretty drawish. I'm still have to like figure out how to bring back the bishop to the game to be active, but I was like, hey, I really want to trade queens, so I went here and made a terrible mistake by playing king g7, because this allows white to make a really interesting move, which is winning the game on the spot. And I missed that, and my opponent actually played this move. So this move is knight h5, and that's because my pawn is pinned. And the problem is that, okay, it's seemingly winning only one pawn, but that pawn was really important. It blocked away the dark square bishop, and now there's nothing stopping this dark square bishop, and I'm borderline losing this game. So I need a miracle to win. So I was like, okay, if I trade queens here, I'm losing, because my knight has literally 0 moves, my bishop is trapped, and these snipers are killing me. So that's out of the question, so I had to go back, but still trying to protect this pawn from attacks. And yeah, he tried to attack my queen. I had only one move, and that's bad, because now he could like win the game on the spot with this move, because I cannot eat the bishop, because he forks me. And if I don't eat the bishop, now he's 2 pawns up. I still can't really move my knight, and he's just gonna control everything, or even like here and gobble up the pawns. So that's completely losing. At this position, probably my best move would be like to still activate the bishop, which I still didn't do in the game, so that's bad. Fortunately, my opponent missed this idea, and he swapped the moves. He played g5, and that's giving some hope. I traded once, and now my queen is under attack, so I moved it, but still keeping an eye on the g5 square, so he can't really move in with the queen. So I was like, if he tries to give me this chance of trading queens, I'm accepting, because I have no other plan. And when he goes in, at least my bishop is activated, and it's not that easy to break this up, because I have a pretty good defense. His king cannot really cross, the bishops cannot really cross. His only bishop move is to play here, and he can never trade this, because the pawn ending is pretty drawish. So at this point I was like, hey, yeah, I'm happy, but yeah, he's not going for the trade. He's giving me the check. I'm going back, and now he's starting to make stupid moves. So the first move here was bishop back. He's attacking the queen, and I moved it back, still trying to hold my position together, and he played the move bishop f6. and that's bad because it actually does nothing. It has no threats. He's never gonna capture my knight because it's protected, and his bishop is a strong piece, and this knight is like useless, and that trade would just benefits me. And also that now he's not threatening anything. I'm getting a tempo, and I can just bring back my bishop. And I was like, hey, maybe there are hopes. And he played one stupid move, like right after he moved the bishop, because this is still not threatening anything. He was like, oh, you want to give me this check, and maybe when I get to safety with my king and you don't have a perpetual, I'm just gonna threaten checkmating one move and you are losing the game. But yes, it still does nothing, so I could like activate my bishop, and this does something. This is actually attacking the d3 pawn. So the problem here, if he tries to like move away the queen, I'm just gonna capture it, and that's problem because then his pawn chain is like pretty much collapsing. And if he would like play this move, I'm not exactly sure if he's like winning anymore. So he has to like go back here or here, but that's just again one more wasted move, and I can get away of the pin. And I don't really see how he can like break through this, because this is pretty solid. He has to like give up the white square, I mean the light square bishop for the light square bishop, and force a trade and hope for the best. But then I again have this pretty nice counter-attacking chance, and yeah, it's complicated. I don't know what would happen, but he was like, okay, I'm trading down. And that was pretty much shocking for me, because you can see I play these moves pretty much instantly. And because this endgame is a draw, if there wouldn't be bishops, it would be a win for white. I'm just gonna show it to you why. So imagine that something like this happens, that we can trade this. I'm losing. Why I'm losing? Because I cannot really cross anywhere with my king, and that's bad because I have much less space and white is up a pawn, and it's seemingly not much, but he can like cross and swing the king here and just chip away, and I still cannot like cross. And once this pawn is activated, like we trade, and he's like here, that pawn will just win the game, because I have to defend it with the king, and once I defend, he just shifts the king over, I have to eat, and I'm not in time to stop this pawn to get the queen. So this is like, by looking, you can see that this is losing. So I have to avoid trading the bishops. Also, I'm attacking the pawn, and he has to defend it. And if he really wants to play this position for a win, he has to like play it here. Why? Because that move would like make my bishop useless. I can't really move anywhere like from this position. My bishop is pretty much useless. I cannot attack his pawns, even though his pawns are on light square. I can't do anything about it, and his king would walk up and do the same plan, but it's not that clear because of the bishops are here. I can like sack my bishop for the last pawn, and with my king I can just walk here, and even though he is up a bishop, he cannot checkmate me. So I'm not sure if this is winning, but he would have chances. But the way he did it, playing this move and allows my bishop to like activate, he's not gonna win this game. And also he would have like stopped this idea, but you know, he is a grandmaster, he wanted to beat me, and he actually ate my pawn, and that's bad. In a practical game, I would say this is already losing for white, but the engine says it's actually fine and it's only a draw. Why? Because he won one pawn, but in the meantime I will win two, and my bishop is ready to jump back, and that's pretty much the problem. So he is like bringing the king in, and now if I play the bishop back, it's pretty much a draw, because if, let's say, we do this and I eat it, now he wins because he's much faster. So if I bring back my my little bishop, I could just bring back it on the other way. So after this check, if he moves down, he was probably calculating this. If I try to move up my little pawn, he can do the exact same with his. And after, like, I don't know, I'm making this move and he making this move, I'm moving and he's moving and I'm moving and he's moving. And yes, I got a queen, and yes, I can give a check, but it's nothing. He can just block it, and we trade queens, and now the material is equal, and it's a draw. So yeah, of course I couldn't calculate that when I was playing, and I had only 1 minute on the clock, and he was time up. But I had an idea. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make these pawns looking like stupid, because if he eats mine, then I'm actually attacking, and if we go for the same line, now his pawn structure at the end is much worse, and probably I can win this, and that would be nice. But he was like, that's dangerous, I have to play for this pawn, and he played king h6, and this is pretty much it. The computer says that this is still only a draw, but I mean, in a practical game, there's no way White is gonna hold this, because I'm just playing b4, and now he's useless, because my only job is to give up my bishop for this pawn, and then he cannot promote. And win by 2 pawns, and his king being so far away from the promotion squares, he cannot ever give up the bishop for 2 pawns. He can only sacrifice it for 1. So I was like, yeah, he is moving the king, I'm moving the pawn, he's moving the pawn to, you know, create this thing, and I could, like, pretty much through all my advantage if I would like play b2, because this is a draw. If you can see that if he, like, ever goes back with the bishop to anywhere, it doesn't really matter. I mean not here, but like anywhere, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give up my bishop. Let's just show this line, and doing this, I could never win this game, because he's like going here and I'm losing, because, you know, his king coming back, and I cannot force the bishop out, even with 2 pawns. So it's really important to not make a move like this, because that's problem. Oh yeah, I know that after, like, bishop here, I don't need to go back, I can, like, force it, but that was just theoretical. So yeah, at this moment I played the bishop back and he resigned. Why did he resign? Because now if he trades like this, I'm winning, because yes, he's promoting with the check, but he's never gonna do that because I'm promoting with the check also. So that's bad, and he's losing. I'm just gonna show, like, an idea that this is check, and probably if he would play here, I would play here, and I'm never going for a checkmate like this. I would just, you know, patiently wait for the moves and, like, play this, and after the move like this, I would, like, trade. And now if he, like, eats back, I would just, you know, going, and if he moves, like, any pawn, it doesn't really matter, I would just eat it, and if he moves, I eat it, and if he eats this, I would just, you know, give this little check. And when he moves, now it's pretty interesting that I would take this pawn, and even if he promotes the queen, I could just trade queens, and that's simple as it is. I would get a queen. Yes, I know that there is a mate in 4, but, you know, when you are playing a game like this, most probably you don't really want to calculate, because you are low on time, and you can pretty much pre-move these moves. So in, like, 2 or 3 seconds I can win it. If I have 2 or 3 seconds with this plan, I can pretty much win the game. No questions, because I can pre-move the queen take, and if he doesn't take my queen, I can just, you know, hold here, pre-move it, and if he does not, I just take and pretty much win the game. So Yes, and also I'm just want to show you the actual checkmate pattern here, that I can move the king up, and when he moves the pawn, I can do this little thing that I'm coming in with the queen, and if he eats me here, no, I'm just going here, and yes, you can try to get a queen, but that's too late because check and checkmate, and I could win the game. So that's it, how I beat this pretty strong German grandmaster. And what could we learn from this game? That's pretty interesting. So for me, the first thing that I learned when I'm playing against a grandmaster is to be solid. If you don't lose the game in 50 minutes and you are in a little worse position, but you can still manage to trade pieces, you are like fine. I mean, most of the times, yes, he will outplays you because he's a grandmaster and I'm not. But it's pretty hard. He has to work for his meat. And also, if we can trade pieces on my terms, like not doubling pawns and stuff like that, and he is doing it even on my terms to doubling pawns, it's fine, because these types of positions are pretty hard to win with white, because I'm solid. I'm rock solid. It's pretty hard to like open up things, get ready to make tactics and win the game by that. But you can see that he's a grandmaster. He's still, even after trading here and trading the rooks, he like this whole plan. He was already seeing that I will probably do this, and that's fascinating that he just shot me like instantly. You can see he spent like 6 seconds, and he just did that to me. And yes, that's fascinating. He's a grandmaster for for a reason, but you can see that he can like still make mistakes, and you can hope for the best, that this move makes absolutely no sense, and then this move absolutely makes no sense, and then the third mistake in a row, it's like absolutely no sense, and this is like borderline a draw, and he's pushing it for a win, and over pushing it, and that's it. So I think the best way to beat a grandmaster is to get an equalish position, make him to overpress the position for a win, and if he makes a mistake, you can like win in the end game. But that's my opinion. This was the only time I actually could beat a grandmaster, and yeah, I beat many players with ratings 2500 on lichess, and most of the time, I mean, all of the games that I could win against players like this level was like when they made a blunder, but not in the opening or in the middle game where they can come back, but in the end game where there are no chances to complicate the position. And yes, after this move, he pretty much resigned the game because there was nothing to do here. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching, and thank you for the support that you're providing me through my Tetris games, and I hope you don't mind to showing this game, because this is chess and not Tetris. And yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye, see you next time.